How's that look?
You're right. I turned your mic on, but I didn't turn my mic on.
Huh.
That's not so bad.
No?
Do we want that song? Do we want to play that song?
How's this?
Okay, take a peek and see what you think. Look over there. That's the new Clint. You know, that's really sharp.
It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that actually you could count the
bullshit in my brown eyes.
You could count the veins in your eyeball. Okay, do we want to play that song?
No.
Or do we want to play this?
Play that. That's kind of random.
Okay, so you're saying no. By the way, do you know what that is? When I tell you, that's going to be rather amazing.
Huh.
Okay, as you probably already know, that's a bass guitar.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that sounds...
It's a bass line.
Right. That sounds to you like a bass guitar, right?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a regular guitar to you with the high...
No, it does not.
Okay. All right. That is a one-string bass. That's a bass with...
One string.
One string.
What now? Is it a bass one string per fret?
No. It is a standard bass. A standard
bass has more than one string.
Has 4 strings.
Right, so
most
it's not
guitars,
a standard bass.
like electric guitars, have 6 strings. A bass guitar has 4 strings, and generally they're thicker to get the octave levels down a little bit, so you get that real bass drive.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't like that then? Not really.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Then we'll do this. Shit, where's the intro? There it is.
This is the TAO. Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nixie team away. Away the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, all hands, lady battle station. General quarters, all hands, lady battle station.
Okay, tonight Clinton Beasley are going to tear through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and rip out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within. All from the hoary streets of Sacramento, Fornicali, exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous fopdoodles infesting altogether too much of this great nation of ours. Feel free to partake of our chat room at shrmedia.com. Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint right there, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of the Zeppmeister, doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts. Some contents, by the way, may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included. Terracross dotted line, Heco in Mexico. Patent pending, warranty void in Montenegro.
And Canada.
Oh, now Canada?
And Venezuela.
Whoa. Tonight, Clint and Cher. Almost Clint and Cher? Okay, I guess I'm going to be Cher tonight. Clint and Beezy will talk about a veritable gaggle, a shrewdness, a murmuration, an obstinacy, a war and a pandemonium, a muster, a covey, an unkindness, a maelstrom, a knot, a shiver, a murder, an intrusion, a smack, a hive, a prickle, yea, a veritable cauldron of topics. Yonder, like I said, from me is Sackheads Clint right there, live, one each. And I'll be your server and robust, obese, somnambulistic reprobate for tonight's show. Sorry, I just want to tell everybody again, I apologize. We don't take American Express or personal checks. And remember, this is only an exhibition, not a competition, so please, no wagering. Look, in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane. It's... Wait, pointing the wrong direction. It's Sackheads Clint.
Hi.
Looking that way.
I'm looking this way.
So... Do you...
Yes.
Do you have a Clint story?
Yeah,
the reason I'm asking is because if you don't, I do. Not a Clint story.
So I have a quick one. I know I told you before that I didn't because I had a shitty week.
Okay.
But I kind of do. So do you watch? I used to watch Saturday Night Live. I don't anymore because they're ridiculous.
I have not watched Saturday Night Live for 20 years.
It's been a long time since I've watched Saturday Night Live, but I did. So I don't know if you've ever seen Celebrity Jeopardy on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, we played
with Sean Connery. We played Key
we
and Peele.
played part of that, but we didn't play it on the air.
Celebrity Jeopardy.
We played it after the show and I wanted to play it on the air.
So
because
but Sean was not having it.
Was strident about not playing it, saying that we would get our butts kicked off of YouTube,
and we probably would.
See, I don't think we would.
Because it's owned by NBC, and they're being sued for $275 million right now. But we can talk about that later.
What you're saying is they're in a bad mood.
They're in a bad mood right now. They're in a bad mood right now. So, anyways, in Celebrity Jeopardy, if you haven't seen it on Saturday Night Live, it's just you could do a search for Celebrity Jeopardy Sean Connery, and it's absolutely freaking hilarious. But I had a moment which was reminiscent of that show. And so my older brother he's getting back into ham radio and all this other stuff that he's doing, which is actually
older brother.
Yeah, my older brother, and he geeks out on that stuff. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm just there's certain things I do really well, and there's certain things that I'm just like, yeah, fucking technology, right? For example, everything on this show, and like ham radio stuff.
Wow. Okay.
I can shoot. I can shoot. I can't do technology. So I was looking. He had this thing that said analog something or another, and I said, "What is an analog?"
Whoa!
Did you really analog? I was, what is this analog stuff? And it prompted a whole big thing. And I actually had to show some people what this Sean Connery thing was. And so to give you an idea, it's freaking hilarious. And you may not think it's very funny, but I thought it was hilarious, especially given the week I've had. But Sean Connery on the character or the actor who plays Sean Connery on these skits, he does ridiculous things.
See, I don't know who that guy is. Well, he's not bad.
I don't.
But
either.
I don't know who he is.
He's pretty funny. But if you have a camera, I can show you one of the things. That's a kind of a meme that comes up. But he does stuff like this. Can you see? I can't see what the camera's pointing at.
Yeah. I'll take whore
ads for 200. and it's Alex Trebek says it's who reads, not whore ads. And he does a bunch of stuff. Like he says, I'll take Jap anal relations for 400. And it's Japan US relations. Anyways, anybody who needs to watch that, I highly recommend. If you need some comic relief, that is a good way to do it. So I made it my mission to everything I could possibly turn into something like that. For example, the word analog. I did.
So, by the way, as per normal, thank you for my my vice here, because as per normal, Clint brought in a tankard o Diet Pepsi. So thank you for the Diet Pepsi.
A liter of cola.
Because, things go better with Pepsi.
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, I'm better. So I have a story.
I want to hear it.
And it comes from last Thursday. And probably explains why there's only 2 people in chat. Because everybody's going, they haven't been here for almost a week now. Where did they go? Well, it went something like this. We at SHR have updated a lot of the radio equipment and the video equipment and instituted a lot of programs. There's, you can't see it, it's buried down under here. There's a GE Force RTX 2070 video card down here.
I don't know what that means.
In a smack dabbing computer that's all lit up red and blue that we had custom built for us, so it's under this table over here. So we had the computer built. We got more cameras. We've got this Arrakis ArcTalk Blue board. These are brand new $200 professional Sony monitors. And your set over there, for whatever reason, didn't blow up. And you're probably thinking, when I say the phrase blow up, folks, you're probably thinking, oh, wait, this is a good story. BZ made shit blow up. Well, yes, BZ made shit blow up.
Literally? Because that'd be gross.
Last Thursday, I was going to have the underground professor on the show, Professor Michael Jones. We're going to talk about the Constitution. And about 10 minutes before the show, I set everything up, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens looking at me. And it's a massive coordination to try to get everything together. And I was looking at the board over here, which is to my left, and I had a slider open. And then I started Spreaker. Somehow, although it's never occurred before, I guess you could call it a feedback loop or an infinite loop. It's basically a sound loop where something starts into the system and it builds and builds and builds. Well, because the microphone was positioned where it was, I couldn't see that on this board, though it's no more than 1.5 feet from my face, I couldn't see the slider was open, and I didn't know that Sean had been listening to something before I'd gotten here. I'm trying to figure out where this feedback loop is coming from, and now it's starting to get so loud that I know it may damage the headphones. This is like 30 seconds into it, and now it took me probably 35, 40 seconds before I identified where this loop is coming from. It's the open pot right here on the board, so I shut down the slider. It stopped. To make a long story short, I blew out 2 sets of headphones. I blew out the Sennheisers. I blew out an old pair that luckily weren't plugged in where you are. The nice pair that you've got weren't plugged in because you weren't here last Thursday. And I also blew out the headphone amp. There's a little headphone amp down here that sits under the Arrakis board. So once I tried to figure out what the hell happened, it took us 1.5 days to figure out what the hell happened. I had to send out social media out to everybody and say, I'm sorry, there's no show tonight because I can't hear shit. And the headphones, the old Behringer headphones went. There was no show. So there was no show last night because we didn't have all the parts pieces in. And tonight we have a show. And so there's a new, about $110, I can't even see it, something blah, blah, 4. This thing is metal. It's built like a tank, headphone amp and preamp down here. And then I've got a new pair of Sony professional headphones on, and luckily your headphones, which are nice headphones, are already there, and they didn't blow out. So we had to reset the board, reset the programs, blah, 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 blah. So I hope that everything is working, and I hope, oh, hey, Kaiser, welcome, and Iggy Mom, welcome. So, folks, all I'm asking is if you're hearing the show like it would normally sound to you, just let me know. Type something in chat. And just let us know, okay, it doesn't sound any worse, it doesn't sound any better, it probably doesn't sound any different. But I just want to know that, did you hear the intro song? Are you hearing both of the microphones? That kind of thing. Because if you are, then it means we did our jobs right. And if you're not hearing anything, then we're going to continue to do this for the next 2 hours anyway. Okay, so let's see. $200 for a new set of headphones, which I'm wearing. And I got to say, they're really nice headphones.
They look really good. Well, I can't see them behind your Jesus hair, but
I know.
From what I can see,
from the brief bit on the
they look really good.
And I can't show you the amp down here, but this thing has we can run 4 headphones off this thing, and I don't know. To me, let me ask you: does it sound clearer in your headphones than last time, or doesn't sound any different to you?
It sounds absolutely magnificent tonight.
Okay. All right. That's thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll take any compliment that I can get, particularly considering Sackhead Sean did most of the work.
Oh, it sounds like crap.
I did some of the work.
The part of the work you did sounds amazing.
Okay.
Because I can tell what part that is, because I can hear it from this side, right, which I know this is the BZ side.
Right.
It sounds perfect.
All right.
This side, it sounds flat.
NSM, not so much.
It's not. Nope. Sounds flat. Sounds
okay.
flat. Have you heard? So Alabama this week passed their anti-abortion bill, right? Makes it illegal to have an abortion at any stage of pregnancy.
Oh, wait a minute. That means if Hollywood is protesting Georgia, then they'll next be protesting Alabama.
Alabama, yes.
So it really is a sweet home.
It is. It is. Well, it passed their House. It still has to go to their Senate, but it did pass their House. Well, there's a state representative from Alabama, John Rogers is his name, and I'm just gonna, I'm going to read you a quote of what he responded to this bill. It passed like 73-4 or 74-3 or something like that.
Oh, a big number. Good.
That's 74-3. It passed their House. But I want to read you what he said, and you could probably find the audio if you really want to. But
Kaiser says, "Jesus hair, Clint. That was good." Nice one, Kaiser.
So here's what he says. He says, and this is a quote from an Alabama state representative, quoting, "Some kids are unwanted, so you kill them now or you kill them later.
Oh.
You bring them in the world unwanted, unloved. You send them to the electric chair. So, and then he repeats, so you kill them now or you kill them later." He continued by saying that some children who face abortion could be quote unquote retarded. Boy, this is a Democratic state representative. This is who is representing the Democratic Party. This is actually, I'm glad he said these remarks, not because I agree with them, but because I think he's absolutely sick. But I'm glad he said these remarks and the way he worded it this way, because folks, this tells you exactly where their mindset is. This isn't a women's right issue. This isn't a right to choose issue. This is literally about killing unwanted babies. Because we do it now, or we just end up doing it down the road anyways. Because if you're
I could have sworn that I had the audio for that, and that I put it out on Twitter or Facebook, and I'm looking for it on my Twitter, and I'm not finding it. Okay, I'll keep looking for it. I think it may be in Facebook. Let me throw this out to you.
Sure.
There are a whole bunch of ways, obviously, that we can go tonight. I have audio cut after audio cut after audio cut about William Barr being basically harassed like crazy.
Shocking.
By the Democrats in the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is chaired by Lindsey Graham, and then Ted Cruz came in and had a nice, cogent, logical thing to say, as did Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham's the chair?
Lindsey Graham is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
Or
but Kamala Harris and Cory Booker.
Oh God, yes, they weighed in. Of course they did. There was no way to not keep them. I'm going to continue looking for it. But in the meantime, and I don't think you've heard this. Somebody sent me a video about the 4 families of California. Well, I was going to hold it for tomorrow night for my show, but it turns out I've got so much of a backlog from last Thursday and Tuesday that I'd kind of like to play it tonight. It's about 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that. But it gave me information that I wasn't aware of, but it answers so many questions about California, and it reveals how incredibly incestuous this state is. It talks about the 4 families of California. So we got a couple of directions we could go. Any thoughts as to
we have a ton of
where we want to start? Plus, we've got all the stories that you sent saying, hey, we can talk about this and this and this and this. So basically, Sackheads, Clint, where do you want to start? There is a ton tonight.
I just started, but since we have about 10 minutes before the next break, I want to talk about Nick Sandmann. The Covington
right.
Catholic high school student.
Yes, I just heard that.
Just announced a new lawsuit today. He is suing NBC Universal for $275 million. $275 million.
Why not? Well,
Wow.
Didn't
So he sued Washington Post for a lot of money.
it was Washington Post 175?
I saw either 175 or 125. He sued. I'm trying to find CNN for $275 million.
Okay, so it's probably the same.
Washington Post
figure.
was $250.
$250.
Washington Post tried to get the case dismissed. I didn't see the outcome of it. I don't think they were successful because they said that their coverage of the incident was fair, and ultimately they gave favorable coverage to the student. Therefore, the suit should be dismissed. Even though right off the bat they excoriated him. And then I think they said, "Oh shit, we were wrong. Let's do some damage control." So NBC Universal now is being sued. I have a couple thoughts on this. What do you, and take the politics out of it, just from from whatever standpoint you wish to come at it. What do you think about a company like NBC Universal, whose job it is to report, give opinion, narrative, whatever the case may be? And I know, yes, same with CNN, they bill themselves as news. I'd like to get your thoughts on a company who deals in that realm, that media realm, getting sued for $275 million for a defamation suit, essentially. And again, politics aside, because they nailed this kid, and that was wrong. Nobody's debating that. So just from a standpoint of suing a company who peddles in media, opinion, whatever it is, getting sued by somebody who they don't like the way they portrayed a particular article or event.
I can't help but bring the politics into it, but I'm of two minds about it, and I feel the way that I'm going to tell you about two venues. One is the printed word, the other is the spoken word, and videos, and media. Because I'm going to lump them all together. I'm going to talk about the Washington Post, CNN, all those other people, and I'm going to lump in social media. My first thought is, because I'm a Bill of Rights advocate, I love the first 10 amendments, as everybody knows. Those are the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. I should maybe I'll do it next week.
You see a squirrel. Focus.
I know.
Focus.
I did see a squirrel, but I got a copy of
5 minutes. Focus.
I got a copy of the test that is given to immigrants before they have to take this test before they can be a citizen of the U.S. And I got a copy of that, and I wanted to bring it in someday and read the questions and find out how many answers does everybody know here.
That'd be good. That'd be fun.
I read it. It's a great test.
And so I think I saw one question that stuck out in my mind. I saw it from the Obama area. Is you're voting, and you have two candidates. One has an R next to their name. One has a D next to the name. Which one do you vote for?
What do you do?
Yeah.
And the answer is the D.
Yeah. In that test. Test. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
My first thought is, I love the First Amendment. Anything that interferes with the First Amendment, absent violence, the standard objections. Yelling fire in a theater is too simplistic these days. Generally, I hate censorship. There are some things, and I'll admit it, I go to gab.ai. There's some off-the-wall shit that you see on gab.ai. I know why it's there. It makes me cringe, but my first thought is they have a right to say that unless they're advocating violence, death, kill someone, etc. Having said that, I think that social media, and when I talk about media, I'm going to lump in social media, and I'm going to lump in CNN, the Washington Post, etc. It makes me cringe to even have to address the issue of censorship, but something somewhere, you would not have minded, I would not have minded, folks listening right now or in the podcast, listening live, YouTube, Facebook, would you really mind if every once in a while Facebook and Twitter would back off their crap and just allow some people who aren't advocating hate to just say what they want? And it's the same thing for the Washington Post or CNN. Be clear, strictly delineate what's opinion and what's actual news. We have a local newspaper, the Sacramento Bee.
It's all opinion.
That if you read their articles, things that they try to portray as news, the first 2 or 3 sentences, and definitely by the first paragraph, this is a biased article, and it's all that way now. So it's like, Jesus Christ, would you people give me a fucking break? Label opinion, label news, be truthful, and social media, let people discuss things with each other. There are concepts out there that you're completely removing because people are too sensitive these days.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked for my first thought. We got 3 minutes. My first thought is it makes me cringe to suggest censorship. Hence, it makes me cringe to think that these people are going to get sued. But where do you draw the line? I'm a right-winger. I'm a conservative. That's nothing new. And I'll tell you that all day long. I will be honest with you as the day is long. If you want to listen to left-wing shit, tune my ass out. Tune my show out, tune this show out, pretty much tune SHR out. But there has to be some way of attempting to get people a little bit back together instead of so zany, so crazy. My second thought is suits against these entities, love it. But that's a punitive thought. That's a visceral thought. That's an emotive thought.
So I have 2 thoughts on this as well. I'm along the same lines as you in terms of chilling free speech. I'm not a fan. It is so a part of who we are as a country.
Just really makes me
chilling free speech is it's a major problem. However, that being said,
there is
your freedom
yes.
Your freedom stops when it infringes upon the freedoms of somebody else. And what those entities wrote and how those entities portrayed him and demonized him caused him to change his life patterns, caused him harm, caused him death threats, basically infringed upon his rights to live free, right, in his pursuit of happiness, because based upon reporting of an event, a particular picture was painted which caused his rights to be violated in being secure in who he is as a person. Does that make sense? His natural rights became violated as a direct result of their irresponsible behavior. Now, was it necessarily NBC Universal? No. Was it particular employees, perhaps? Yes. And that, but Deep Pockets theory. But I think Deep Pockets theory is bullshit. Hang on, let me finish his thought.
Okay, but I think you're really focusing now.
I am, because suing a company for big money because they're a company and they're responsible is a bullshit theory, in my opinion. I get it. It's a deep pockets theory. It's kind of like one person is an asshole, and so you sue the big company because they have the money. If somebody's an asshole, and they do something that violates the law or that violates your rights, then that's a different story. So perhaps these news organizations didn't have the full story. They ran with a story they shouldn't have. I don't think anybody's debating that, and if they are, they're idiots. I think even these entities understand that they got it wrong at first. But there's a difference between getting it wrong and pushing a narrative and continuing to push a narrative, or for basically calling somebody out, defaming somebody specifically. And I think there's a difference there. And I don't think NBC Universal came out with a policy saying we're going to shame this guy. I think there were some individuals that were part of NBC who were representing themselves as NBC, who pushed a narrative, who maybe were dishonest in their reporting. And yes, I think that since I believe they were knowingly dishonest in how they portrayed that because they wanted to push an agenda. But I think that makes the individual responsible. That doesn't make the company responsible.
I'm going to go all contrarian, Clint.
Do it.
When we come back, because I want to continue this discussion, number one. And then number two, I want to throw a concept out there to you. And I guess I'm going to attempt to advocate for, well, why shouldn't they be sued? Which, doesn't that kind of conflicts with what I just said, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
That's my job. That's not your job.
Yeah.
Right.
What the hell?
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. And they're back. And he's back. We, she, it, they are back. It's the Shat Show. The Sackheads Against Tyranny. I'm Sackheads BZ. That is Sackheads Clint, the contrarian Clint over there. I'm the bulbous one, the rotund one, the Zeppmeister. And we're going to be on for another hour and a half, basically, because this is the Shat Ho.
The Shat Ho.
This is the Shat Ho.
This is the Shat Ho.
And look, over there are the people in the Shat room. We have Iggy Mom, the Alaskan Andy Wood, and Kaiser. So thanks for being there.
The Shat Ho.
The Shat Ho.
You know, that's actually a fetish.
Yeah, it is.
A whole different thing.
It is, yeah. I don't know if that's anything we really want to get into, so to speak.
I don't want to get into it at all,
right,
actually.
You saw what I did there.
Again.
Yes.
Okay. I saw what you did because there was a video made of it, which kind of made me think of that.
Right. Okay.
You were young.
I know. I didn't know what I was doing. Thank God. Don't you think now? Really consider it. Aren't you glad that I know I am? As a kid, you didn't have social media when you were growing up. Oh my God, the things that I did that would have been archived forever.
Yes.
Holy crap. I'm so glad I grew up in the era that I did. Where
the 1860s were really kind of an interesting time.
And, well, it was bad on the lungs. There were lots of dust, and people had a lot of back injuries because of constantly, up and down,
on the horse,
getting up the horse, getting down off the horse. Actually, get down off a duck, not a horse, but that's a story for another time. We were talking about
lawsuits in NBC,
lawsuits
and CNN,
in NBC, and the Sanford kid. Did I get the name right? Sanford? Sandman kid. Enter Sandman.
Nick Sandman. I see what you did there.
Okay. I met James Hetfield.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
He was the one who was fighting the McCoys, right?
Yes, he was. How did you know that? It was the Hetfields and the McCoys.
Yes.
Okay, fist bump on that one. Boom! Nicely played, Mr. Nicely Played. But we're talking about the First Amendment, and your thoughts were that, okay, maybe there needs to be some kind of payment for this, but we should look a little bit more local and not at the larger pockets.
Correct.
The bigger pockets of it.
Correct.
In chat, if I'm not mistaken, up in chat, it might have been Andy, it might have been Iggy, I'm not sure. Somebody said basically NBC was behind these guys all the way. So I may have reconsidered something for a second with this caveat. On the show twice, I've had a chick that is fabulous. I've only had her on the air twice. We went to college together very briefly. And she became a journalist. She went to Dixon, started writing for one of the Dixon newspapers there, went back east. She started writing for Soldier of Fortune. She still writes for People magazine. She still writes for SOF, which is way cool. She knows Robert Brown before he passed away.
Wow.
And so she writes. She's written everywhere. The National Enquirer, tons of magazines. She's an honest-to-fucking-God journalist. And I was going to transcribe this thing, but basically what she said is journalists have an ethic, a responsibility to report both sides, and unless it's specifically an opinion piece, you should never go into politics. You should have all the facts, and you should make sure that you do the investigation, and you should have 3 separate sources, verifiable sources, before you print a story as fact. So the big question then that I have as to, okay, why shouldn't they absolutely, the Sandman and his attorney, enter, comma, one each. Why shouldn't they sue the absolute shit out of NBC? And the reason I say that is because according to the Susan Katz-Keating theory of journalists, everyone was there. Don't you think that there was a video presence, a camera presence, an audio presence before that actual little teeny tiny confrontation, if you could even call it that, between the Navajo guy and Nick Sandman, who all they were doing is just being kids waiting for a bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't even think of the name of there was a black group yelling obscenities at these kids that no one covered until later. The information was there to be gotten and gleaned and returned, but I think NBC, CNN, and all those other maggots made the clear choice not to cover that.
Who made the choice?
Well,
somebody made the choice.
It's like intelligence. There's catch, otherwise known as take in the intelligence community, and then the intel agencies allegedly interpret the information, package it, and then ship it to the consumer of intel, which is the president, Congress, etc. So theoretically, these agencies should be collecting, they should be making a take of all the information that's here. Somebody needs to analyze it and then present it to the consumer, which is us. Mm-hmm. We are the viewers. Ultimately, it's the editor on TV, on whatever cable channel it is, and the editor in whatever newsroom you're talking about. Can you talk for about at least 60 seconds, and I want to show you one of the best examples of lack of an editor in a newsroom.
I know exactly which one you're going.
You know where I'm going.
Absolutely, I know where you're going. But here's this is my point. There are live individuals along the way that make decisions.
Yes, and they have they have jobs. It's their job.
Yes, it is
to do that.
So those individuals hold those individuals accountable, not the company as a whole. The company as a whole, with the shareholders, with all the other employees that we're talking about, jobs and everything else. Those people, those shareholders, those other employees are not responsible for the crap that was pushed out. And if things were knowingly pushed out, now they're harming other people, right? It kind of goes back to my original concept. They're harming other people that really didn't do anything wrong. You had individuals, and I don't care if it's 10 individuals or 25 individuals. If you can show a chain of events where this individual made a made a decision to do this, this individual made a decision to do this, this individual made a decision to do this, and it was presented this way, and it caused harm to my client in the form that we already discussed. Those individuals down that line should be held account, and I don't have a problem with that, because I believe that they did it with nefarious intent. I don't believe it was a mistake. I don't believe that the journalist and up the line for people who were reviewing this story, I don't believe that they said, okay, do we have our due diligence on this? Okay, yeah, let's push it out. We think this is really what happened. I don't think that happened.
And there's an excellent reason for that, because video and audio requires what? Specific editing.
Yes.
There's the take, and then someone has to decide out of all of this,
here's what we're going to use.
What are we going to edit?
Right.
What are we going to... And including or excluding something,
right?
They're both equally important.
Absolutely. And so those people, I have no problem with being held accountable. But the company doesn't make that decision. And unless NBC has a policy, and it's shown where they have a policy that says we are only going to push a left-wing agenda and we're going to spin all of our stories that way, and they bill it as news, then maybe. But I don't think that. I'm sure the company, and look, we know that most of the people that work for those companies or are running those companies are liberal and have an agenda. But the bottom line, it's those individuals that are pushing that agenda on behalf of the company. If you hold those individuals accountable, and those individuals are personally being hit in their pocketbook as a result of lawsuits, those individuals are either not going to have a job anymore, or those individuals are going to make different choices. Those individuals will change their behavior because they don't want to pay out of their own pocket. Right now, what do they care? NBC Universal has millions of dollars. Oh, so you're going to hit us? Well, we're not personally going to pay this. The company is going to pay this. Who's injured? It's not those individuals who are making those decisions. And so that is why I have an issue. I'm not saying the kid's wrong. I have an issue with the deep pockets theory and suing the company. Go after the individuals.
You're saying that you have an issue with the specific target or targets.
Correct.
You're saying the focus is too wide.
Correct.
When it in fact should be much more focused.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's a good part with that and a bad part. The bad part is people sue and you get, obviously in tort cases, you get punitive damages.
Mm-hmm.
So if you acquire punitive damages from an individual, then you may get close to ruining an individual, but then that tends to personalize it for a jury, because the defense will be, do you really want to see my client who makes $70,000 a year pay for a series of, they were just mistakes, when you're letting this massive corporate beast off the hook who has a history, a continued history of doing this exact same thing? So why aren't we focusing on the company with its history instead of my poor client? I think that's bad judgment, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
But that's what lawyers get paid for, make an argument. Because now the other side should come up and say, hey, you know what? He's painting his client as the poor guy who made a mistake. Let me show you a pattern of conscious decisions that this individual made and the impact that it had on my poor teenage client's life. This wasn't NBC as a company that made these decisions. This was Joe Shit the Ragman here who made these decisions and knowingly did so and has established a pattern of conduct. It's not the company that's the corporate beast that's doing this. It's individuals like this guy right here that's pushing the agenda on behalf of the company.
Clint, can't I make an argument of corporate climate? Because the exact argument should be, well, not should, is used in police agencies.
That's my point, and it's bullshit.
That your agency X has a climate of you're oppressive against fill in the blank. So it's that officer, and that officer makes $45,000 a year if you work for NYPD on the East Coast, and my God, that's what they actually make. They start at 38, which is cat piss when you have to live in the Northeast U.S. But, we need to have a chilling effect on Officer X, but that NYPD has a corporate culture of doing this again and again, and by God, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's why we need to go against NYPD and not just this officer.
But that's bullshit, because who pays the bill for that? It's the taxpayers.
It is.
So the taxpayers...
Who pays the bill for the
shareholders.
Yes, they do.
And this is my point. Why are you... Look, if one officer does something that is bad, if one officer is out there targeting minority groups on a basis of race, or if they're out there because of sexual orientation and they're taking action on things or planning evidence, these other things, those officers should be taken to task 110%. I don't know of any righteous cop, any good cop who's not dirty, and there are very few of those, contrary to a lot of popular opinion right now.
Absolutely true.
I don't know of any righteous cop who would stand up for that crap. Not one. Cops don't want dirty cops because it makes everybody look bad. So you know what? If there is a dirty cop, and I'm not talking about, hey, the guy shot somebody because somebody pointed an airsoft gun at him. Okay, shit happens sometimes. Don't fucking point an airsoft gun at a cop, because the cop's going to think it's real and it's going to be a bad day for you. Right? Cops don't get paid to wait and see.
To stop and say, excuse me, right? Why did you paint the once pink tip of that?
Cops aren't going to stop and see if you're going to kill them before they decide to fight back. They can't operate that way. So if there's a legit dirty cop, this cop stops somebody simply because they fit a particular ethnic group, and then they get them out of the car, and they're clearly violating a lot of different things, right? That cop should be held personally responsible. That's not the agency's fault. That's that cop's fault. And if there's a culture in an agency, and let's say there is a legitimate culture in an agency,
okay,
it's not a culture of an agency. It's a culture of that particular captain that has demonstrated that he has pushed or she has pushed their troops to conduct X, Y, or Z behavior, or a particular lieutenant, or a particular sergeant, or a corporal on a shift, or name the rank that controls whatever segment of that particular agency that is engaging in that behavior.
I see your argument. I see and
understand
your argument.
And that is what should be rooted out, because that, if people are thinking about their individual pocketbooks, that is what is going to change that culture and behavior. It's not an agency issue. It's an individual issue. Now, the agency may have an issue in terms of, hey, did somebody in internal affairs not decide to do that investigation? There's still always a decision maker. And I don't fall for the guy at the top is responsible for everything below. I mean, yes, that's true to an extent, but the chief of police is not going to know what the sergeant on patrol or the lieutenant watch commander is doing at 3 a.m. They're not privy to those calls that are being made. So where does that buck stop? And I think if you can demonstrate and show whoever that decision maker is, in the case of these lawsuits with Mr. Sandman, hey, is it the editor? Is it the editor in chief? Is it the CEO? Who is it? There is a face. I don't buy this. Will we hold globally a group responsible? It'll be like in the international court, the United States of America gets held responsible for. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Let me play a cut that I found in the interim, and I told you I was going to do this and find it, and I did. And then once I play it and everyone gets through laughing, because it is funny as fuck, I'm going to tell you how this happened. Now, then I want everyone, after having listened to this, to figure out, okay, how is it that in today's technological and fact-checked society that something like this could have happened? And I'm pandering, but I also want to have a laugh too. This is an actual newscast from a San Francisco TV station.
Channel 2, if I recall.
Yeah, from the
Coroner
Asiana.
is still trying to determine the
crash.
cause of death and whether she was already dead when the truck hit her. We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Lee Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing on Saturday.
Okay, let me stop right there just for a second, because I happen to know a little bit about this. I worked in TV for a bit. There is an editor who gets all the information from video coming in, and it used to be that you'd have to take tape and run it back into the station, and now everything's just beamed in. So there's an editor responsible for looking at the take. Then you decide, somebody has to decide, and it's generally the take editor who decides what the focus is going to be. Then there's a newsroom editor who looks at that, and while they're editing this information down, the newsroom editor is determining, and I'm saying theoretically, the newsroom editor is looking at how we're going to craft this and what's going to be the focal point of the story. Well, we know what the focal point of this story was, and we laughed like crazy. Okay, then there's another editor that's in charge of the floor. Then there's an individual that's charged with loading the teleprompter. Then there are the newsreaders. And that's the end, that's the semi-end product. We're the end product. But even the newsreaders in this situation didn't catch how stupid this was. So there's a general newsroom editor, a video editor, a person that's in charge of editing the content themselves, of writing the story. Then there's somewhere this source got in there, and it's a stupid damn source. But somewhere someone pushed that and got it in. My point is, just like how stupid this is, there are a lot of checks and balances, or theoretically there should be a lot of checks and balances in the process, so that something stupid like this, somebody wanted to make a funny.
It was an intern at the NTSB who they called. He answered the phone, and the intern gave the information. I don't remember if he was getting fired or last day or whatever, but it was an intern, like a college volunteer.
Yeah. What I'm suggesting is this.
But no, that's where it came from. It did come from the NTSB.
I'm not doubting you in the slightest.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. But this had to filter through, my guess would be 5 adults, and not one of them thought, wait a fucking minute. This can't be right. I'm not going to put this on the air. We're a professional we're a professional TV station. This cannot go on the air. And all of those editors, I'm suggesting at least 4 to 5 people, this passed through. Or someone somehow bypassed all of that, and then the process completely took a dump. If some one individual was able to get through all of these processes and put it on somebody's prompter, and they had to make odd video for this, they had to make graphics for this because the names are spelled out in a crashed plane. So there was a lot of work that went into that. The same amount of work that went into purposely making Sandman, a high school kid, look like he's the racist of the century, getting up in the face 3 inches away from this poor, elderly, thin, neck-wattled, poor Navajo guy who's beating his drum, and this white kid is in his face, and he needs to be smeared. He has to be smeared. He has to pay for his racist ways, his privileged white caucasoid ways. And so they decided they were going to make him pay, because that's the corporate fucking culture. Well, so if they go up the chain to the big people at NBC, I got no problem with that.
But they're not.
But
they're
the
suing the company. They're not suing the individual people.
No, they're not,
suing
because
the company.
The point is to get as much money. It's like bicoastal. The attorneys want an assload of money.
Of course they do.
Because that's what attorneys do.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is they want what they call, you and I both know, as the phrase is, the chilling effect of losing an assload of money, so that somewhere someone from above shines light down and says, don't you ever do that again. Maybe we need to review our policies and not be so biased. Yeah, bullshit alert.
Mm-hmm.
But the big question is, now this happens in England, in the UK. The big question is, do we want to open that door here in the United States? Do we want to make newsrooms? Do we want to put a chilling effect on newsrooms? And that's why this really grates in my throat. I don't like this.
No, I don't either. Go after the individuals. So I would not be opposed to a law. And so the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, right? I would argue that it is not an abridgment of speech if there was a law that was passed that required media entities to clearly identify their pieces as either opinion or news. Because you can still say what you want, but it's almost like the label on the organic products that you buy in the store, or clearly listing out the ingredients. Know what you're going to get. You are required. You can say what you want, but you are required to clearly let the consumers know whether you are speaking news or whether you are opinion. And they can choose to listen to you. I would be okay with that, because that's not chilling speech. That is clearly labeling what you are about to say or what you are about to present.
Okay, when we come back, because this is a perfect time for a break. When we come back, any thoughts about where we want to go? Have we beaten this up, or do we need to go to another topic? Because there's so many other places we
there
could
is.
go.
I actually want, when we come back, I do want to touch real briefly about the FBI investigation into Antifa.
Oh,
I think I sent you like 3 stories.
Yeah.
About that from like 3 different sources.
Yeah, that's a good one, folks. What do you think? Should we go there? I think maybe we should. You're listening to the Shot Show. It's the Sackheads Against Tyranny. I'm Sackheads BZ. That's Sackheads Clint, and we'll be right back.
Kaiser forgot the N in my name.
Oh, did he call you? Oh! Can I even say that?
It's right there in chat.
I can't say that word.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's
looking
kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a
kind of
poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, cats and kittens, we're back. It's the second hour of the Wednesday night Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's a shot show, Sackheads Against Tyranny. And we'll be here all night. Start at 8 p.m. We're going to end up at 10 p.m., which is going to be midnight on the East Coast. Midnight at the Oasis. 8, 9, 10. Oh, 1 o'clock. That's right. Clint, did I ever indicate to you that I was good at math? No, I am not good. Let's just say that
I don't math so good
at math. Which is another reason that I think folks in chat or in podcast, do you have to be good at math to be a musician? I know if you want to read or write music, I think you have to. Or is it just, can you, how many really good musicians are extant who can listen to something and just automatically play it? I think mathematics, you have to be fairly good mathematically to know something about music. I would guess. I mean, I played bass guitar.
The single string though, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to learn a bunch?
No, I actually had a 4-string bass. The first thing I learned how to play was the bass line to Smoke on the Water. Do 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 do, because that was simple. That was just one string and one fretting.
I liked it.
Yeah. The name of the group, my first group that I played for, I will tell you, Girl Fight. We were a garage band, and we were named Girl Fight. And then we got better. I didn't get better, but everybody else did. And we named it Dr. Fong.
Dr. what?
Dr. Fong, F-O-N-G. Dr. Fong.
Huh.
And then I had a radio show on KERS called, and it was on Saturday. It was the first 2-up show, myself and a guy named Randy. And we had the Dr. Fong's Classique radio travesty of the air, where we would eat breakfast on the air. And okay, not very impressive. You want to talk about Antifa?
Yes.
And Kaiser wants to talk about Antifa, so he's got the phone number, so he knows what to do.
So, okay.
Something happened to them recently?
Well,
or they were discovered doing something, I think.
They were. So, Antifa is a group. They're anti-fascists. Is what it stands for. And
they think
they are. Yeah.
They don't even know what the fucking word means.
They don't. They are basically. They're basically communists, which is why they don't like fascists.
Yeah,
right?
I would say, yeah.
So if you're unfamiliar with what the difference between a fascist and a communist is, they are two opposite sides of the exact same side of the spectrum, if that makes sense. So,
you know what? I don't think we're going to be able to take the call because I'm getting echo on it. Hey, yes. Kaiser, are you there? Oh, call ended.
So yeah, that sounds really bad.
No,
in my
we're not
ears.
going to be able to do that.
So the if they're both big government, okay. So if you look on the spectrum between big government on one side and zero government on the other side, communism and fascism is both on the far left side of the spectrum in terms of big government. It is, one is up, which would be fascism, and one would be down, which would be communism. And it's an interesting argument we have now between right and left, right? The communists always say that the right is a bunch of fascists, and the fascists, or the people on the right, seem to say that the on the left are communists. Really, all you're doing is you're taking that scale.
I can't. Hey, Kaiser, you're calling in, and I tried to do it again, and I'm getting feedback on this. I'm getting an echo out of this thing. So, Kaiser, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to take your call.
So if you take that scale and you flip it on its end, what we're really arguing left and right is really up and down. It's the same side of the spectrum. So the communists hate the fascists hate the communism. It's happened all throughout history, and look no further than the fascist government of Adolf Hitler and the communist government of the Russians at the time of World War II. Both big government. Socialists,
and that's where the term, folks, have you ever heard the term brown shirts?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Fascist, big government, and two different sides. So they hate each other. So Antifa is this group, and there have been issues. There have been groups, and granted, these groups are fucking asshole groups. You know, they are the white supremacist groups, the Nazi groups. They have had events, and the events have been permitted. They're lawful organizations. As much as I detest the message of the Nazis, the Nazi Party, they do have a First Amendment right to spew their bullshit. So there have been events where those Nazi groups have had a permit to spread their filth, but they're not calling for violence against anybody specific. They're just having their rally, exercising their First Amendment rights, which they have that right. And Antifa has shown up, and they have shown up with the specific intent to shut them down, to shut down the First Amendment rights of those groups. Look, if those groups showed up to shut down the rights of Antifa, I would be just as against it. I don't believe we already had a discussion about the chilling of free speech. I don't think anybody's speech should be chilled, whether I think they're disgusting or not. I think they deserve to be held because I want people to know exactly who they are.
See, that's
right?
an excellent point, and it's a standard phrase that the First Amendment exists not for pablum speech. The First Amendment exists for challenging speech.
Yes.
Okay. Does David Duke have a right to stand on a box and talk about whatever it is that David Duke talks about?
Yes, he does. And so does Louis Farrakhan.
The obvious answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes. Correct. Yes to Farrakhan. Yes to David Duke.
Yeah.
With the underlying subtext being, and they also are subject to whatever consequences they receive for saying whatever it is that they say.
Absolutely. As long as they're not advocating for the things we discussed, right? Advocating for the violence,
murder,
those sorts of
violence,
things.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. So Antifa shows up. They like to chill the speech of certain groups. And they are a group of thugs. They are a group of bullies. They are, in my opinion, they are a domestic terrorist group. In my opinion, because
I think they should be
because they do advocate
that.
Yeah, they do advocate for the overthrow of the government, of our institutions, of our capitalist ways. So, anyways, there's now this issue on the border, obviously, and the FBI. According to, I sent you a few different stories.
Yes, and I'm looking at a different one here.
So I sent you one from the Daily Wire. I sent you one from
Fox
News. I think. And I sent you one from One America News.
Yep.
I think a few different sources had the story, but the FBI is now investigating Antifa for plotting to stage an armed rebellion with guns purchased from Mexican cartel.
Yes, there's MetroVoiceNews.com. Antifa terrorists plot war at border, says FBI. An alleged and bizarre plot has been uncovered that involved a Mexican cartel. Now, this is Antifa being involved, apparently actively, with Mexican cartels. To me, that tells you all you need to know about Antifa and their good nature. The anti-fascist Antifa terrorists in the United States involving migrant caravans and an alleged cartel associate named Cobra Commander.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the report claimed that activists sought to, this is a quote, stage an armed rebellion at the border. They plan to disrupt U.S. law enforcement and military security operations at the U.S.-Mexican border. That sounds to me like insurrection.
Yes, and it also verifies to Democrats, it confirms what they already know, but they're never going to admit, is that there is a crisis on the border, and it's building.
It is.
And now
but now we have
local terror groups.
Yes.
Becoming involved.
Yes, looking to arm themselves and engage in an armed response against military and law enforcement personnel who are there protecting our sovereign border. Folks, when is the United States military allowed to take action? Can the United States military take action against an armed insurgency?
Yes, because, I took an oath. Other people took an oath against enemies, foreign and domestic. And a similar oath is taken by those people serving in the military.
And can the military be used to put down an armed insurrection against the United States? Yes, it can.
Now people, there might be
there
might be some of you out there who are you're going to say immediately, no, the military can never be used inside the United States.
No, that's
not correct.
That is not correct. The military cannot engage in law enforcement functions against the people, but the military can be used to put down an armed insurrection against the United States, which, if Antifa is arming themselves on the border to engage in a border war with United States law enforcement and United States military personnel, National Guard or otherwise, I would argue that that is an armed insurrection against the government of the United States and its sovereignty, and as such, can lawfully be put down by the United States military. Am I wrong?
I don't believe so. Here's more of the article that I'm looking at from Metro.
Kaiser confirms that I'm correct.
There's a document that the San Diego Union Tribune got a copy of. It says that this federal investigation, this is a quote, focused on an alleged plot by a drug cartel to sell guns to protesters, and said, quote, activists had planned to buy guns from a Mexico-based cartel associate known as Cobra Commander. After getting these guns, the newspaper says, quote, the protesters wanted to stage an armed rebellion at the border. It says the group behind the planned uprising was anti-fascist activists, an apparent reference to the anarchist community or anarchist communist group Antifa, given a key individual that it mentions. Now, I don't have a name here, but if they know a name, then they obviously know enough to realize that this is an individual, or they wouldn't be saying something like this, who apparently has very obvious and clear links to Antifa. Would that be correct?
I believe so.
I believe so. So Antifa already has terrorist connections. I think it was Christopher Wray, when he was in a Homeland Security Committee hearing, said Antifa operates across the U.S. in ways that involve at least potentially criminal interstate activities, such as inciting a riot and conspiracy to incite riot, as well as behavior. That was current FBI Director Christopher Wray saying that on November 30th of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we already know that they engage in these activities. We've watched video of professors claiming to be Antifa, clocking people on the heads with bike locks, heavy objects, coming up behind people and smacking them. It should be it should be a completely logical step to think that in the not too terribly distant future that Antifa, well, let me throw this scenario out here. Everybody says, no, this can't happen here. Happened in 2016, could happen again in 2020. What do you think the reaction, folks, is going to be by leftists, i.e. specifically Antifa and Antifa-aligned groups, if Donald John Trump becomes a second-term president in 2020, kicking all the rest of the Democrats to the curb? If you think, I'm going to submit this and you tell me if I'm crazy, Clint. I submit that if we thought we saw badness in 2016, with a second term, with 8 years of the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, if we thought that there was a social kerfuffle, if we thought there were tears and then the incipient riots that occurred subsequently, I think it's going to cork off if that happens in 2020. And now we see clearly in 2019, Antifa has already made linkage to cartels.
Mm-hmm.
We know this for a fact.
I don't know how much it will cork. I think there'll be pockets of it. I don't think the whole country would erupt.
I think you'll get,
but I think you'd get pocket because
you're going to get the same stuff that you would have that you got in 2016. If there are conventions, if there are people on a conservative bent,
of course,
you're going to see a lot of stuff occur in universities, certainly on the left coast, northeast, blah blah blah. All the standard bullshit that you see now.
Of course you are, and it's gonna get even worse because they can't stand the fact that everything is doing so well right now under Donald Trump.
Yeah,
they cannot freaking stand it. They are losing their minds because
fucking economy.
Because everything that they build their bullshit on is collapsing. Everything they said that. Do you remember Obama? We will never see 3% growth.
Oh yeah,
and I mean everything that all their basis, everything that they say in order to get votes, Donald Trump has smashed and has proven otherwise. So I think that they will absolutely lose it when he gets reelected. However, I think that where the real trouble will start for our country as a whole is going to be if we get somebody in office like a Kamala Harris or a Cory Booker or especially a Bernie Sanders, where there are socialist, clearly unconstitutional policies put into effect, and if you can't get it through Congress, get it done through executive order.
Yep. Kamala Harris already said that one of her first executive orders will be the removal of what she considers to be assault rifles.
Yes. So there will be unconstitutional actions done, and I think that when push comes to shove, particularly on that issue, states are going to say, fuck you, we're out, and that's when it's going to get potentially very real, and there's going to have to be some hard decisions that are made on a lot of different fronts. I think that first there'll be some individuals who are acting out individually, and I don't think that that's a good way to go.
Individuals, when you say that, you mean?
I think, look, there will
be
be
individuals. You mean smaller groups of individuals or specific? I'm not sure.
Either
what
way,
you mean.
either way. So let's say, for example, the state of California outlawed all guns. All guns are outlawed, and cops come to the house and they're going to collect the guns, or you're supposed to turn your guns in. There's going to be those people that say, fuck you, I'm not giving you my guns. There's going to be some people who comply, and there's going to be some people that say, no fucking way, you're going to have to kill me. That's what I'm talking about. And while I certainly understand the theory of you have to stand up and if they're wrong, they're wrong. We have certain natural rights, and you have an obligation and a duty and a right to stand up to that. I understand that on one level. The flip side of that is, what is the difference between an insurrection and a true righteous movement or a revolution or whatever it is you want to call it? And insurrection is somebody just kind of acting out on their own, or a group acting out on its own without any civil authority. If you have a state or a county or a civil authority that people vote into office, elect, and take a particular action, then I think that's different. So that's when I say, hey, things are going to get real for sure. I think there'll be some tragedies for sure, but I think that's where you'll see states like Alabama and some of the other states say, hey, you know what? We are not going to be socialist. We are not going to be a communist. We value the Constitution. If you're packing the Supreme Court, for example, or you're doing these other things, we are out. The Civil War didn't solve anything other than say that you won as a North, and oh, you think it means we're a perpetual union and I can't punch out? Well, watch this. We're punching out. And I think that's where it could get potentially ugly and devolve into a second civil war. I don't really want to see that happen. But I can see that happen, particularly in conservative states that refuse to fall into a socialist model, people that absolutely believe in the Constitution. And in that case, I believe the Bill of Rights and the Constitution supports a separation of the Union at that point. You can't take the Declaration of Independence separate from the Constitution, right? It's like Lincoln said, it's the apple of gold in a frame of silver, right? You have to take the two together to get the full context. And when government becomes too oppressive in its own right, the people have a right and a duty to establish a new one in its place. And so if we end up becoming this socialist country, this communist country, we're moving in that direction, and our individual rights and liberties are degraded to the point where they no longer exist, I believe states are within their responsibilities in order to make that decision. I think those states can make the decision at that time. Do we stay and form this new form of government and reshape the Constitution? Some states may do that. Some states may say, we are not going to do that. We like our Constitution the way it was, and we are going to establish that as our form of government. And if the people can vote with their feet. I'm not advocating for a civil war. I'm not advocating for armed resistance or anything like that at all. I'm simply thinking this through a logical conclusion based upon history.
We have...
Go ahead, unpack that.
We got 3 minutes, and this is not long enough to have this discussion. I believe we're gonna carry this over. This is, and I've never addressed these two phrases before, but this goes back to original law that I was taught in the academy in 1974. There are two types, this comes from the Latin, there are two types of schools of thought with regard to law. One is malum in se, and the other one is malum prohibitum. And this is a philosophy that I've carried for quite some time, and I've never really gotten to the point, and it's interesting that you've now drawn this out of me, Sackheads Clint.
I do this sometimes.
You do that sometimes, and that is why I call you the clear contrarian. But this time you're not a contrarian.
Mm-mm.
This time you're asking valid, legitimate questions that made me respond in this fashion. But this is where my brain goes, and this is where I draw a line. You, like me, we're both great believers in the founding documents.
Mm-hmm.
The Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Constitution. I would wager that we have both read the Federalist Papers.
Mm-hmm. And the Anti-Federalist.
I would go so far as to say we've probably both read the Anti-Federalist Papers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to make this statement, then we're going to have to go to a break. We'll come back, and I'll explain more, and then you can handle the two phrases that I've given as you see fit. But if it comes down to push and shove, and no, I do not want any form of a civil war, it's not good for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for the people. It's not good for the government. It's not good for the economy. And if it screws the United States by dint of our power, it's going to end up screwing a good portion of the world. Look what 2008 in America did to the rest of the nations on Earth.
Yep.
That being said, how I craft my thoughts on this is there are two types of laws, and I guess it gets back to original English common law. There's malum prohibitum, which says that something is proscribed because men somewhere have decided that this is a law. Right or wrong, it's been voted on, and the decision is if you fail to signal to change into another lane, that's a violation of someone's vehicle code somewhere. That's an example of malum prohibitum. Malum in se means that it's prescribed by nature, by God. There are certain overarching laws that all men and women recognize hold sway over everything else, that they are so critical that all people should know inherently that these are bad things, and just in and of themselves, basically in se means in and of itself. There are things that shouldn't be, that are just bad, that you shouldn't do, that are in and of themselves. Now, we're going to have to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk maybe a little bit more about malum and se, malum prohibitum, and I definitely want Sackhead Clint's input on this and what he thinks. So this is oh my God, do you realize we haven't even gotten to bar?
We're not going to get to bar.
There's so much stuff we haven't even covered yet. Oh,
yes, but you know what? God. Everybody's covering bar. We're covering the shit that nobody talks about.
I guess you could say that.
You want to go read about bar? There's a ton of different places you can go read about bar.
There are. Okay, so we're going to go on a break. We'll come right back for the last half hour. Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for being in chat. Thanks for watching on SHR Media Facebook. Thanks for watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel. And Sackheads Clint and I will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplains.talkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a
kind of
poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the final 25 minutes of the Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's a chat show, and the people are in the chat room still consist of Iggy Mom, the Alaskan, and Kaiser. Thanks for being here. We think we've solved most of the problems, and so we will be here with a lot more consistency. Most definitely, we will be here. The Sackheads Against Tyranny, the chat show, will be here next week as well. Just want to let you know. And I will be here tomorrow night. I'm negotiating for Dr. Jones, you know, and then I've got so many happy stories, it's not even funny, but I'm going to go all funny with happy stories tomorrow night. I put up in chat the meaning of malum in se and the meaning of malum prohibitum, and they can explain that a lot better than I can. And I'm putting this out there as the delineator as to whether or not this is how BZ judges whether things get so bad that he makes a decision to do X. And we both agreed, Sackheads, Clint and I, that civil war is the last thing that this country needs or wants or desires. There may be some people out there that are saying, we need a civil... No, fuck no.
Yeah,
we don't need
we do not.
We don't need a civil war.
And there's an interesting term out, and I read it from, I think it was from Imprimis, which is the Hillsdale publication.
Oh, that is
interesting
so
article.
Great.
Interesting article about how we are, in fact, in a cold civil war. Fantastic article. If you can find it, I highly recommend you read it.
Wait a minute.
But I agree. I agree that we are, in fact, in a cold civil war in this country. Very, very interesting concept. Yeah, if you can pull it up, that'd be great to link. If you don't subscribe to Imprimis...
Oh, boy, do you ever need to.
You absolutely should, just like I highly recommend everybody... Go take the free Hillsdale University classes. You got it?
Yeah.
It is a fantastic article.
And the funny thing is that in bringing this up through my favorite search engine, I noticed
is it DuckDuckGo? It
yeah.
better not be fucking Google. Okay.
No. I noticed that it's purple instead of blue, meaning I've clicked on this before, which is very interesting.
Well, you and I have talked about it before. I think I forwarded you, and I think I forwarded it to you at some point when it first came out.
It says October 2018. This is from Charles Kessler.
Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic article.
And
can you link it in chat?
Let me see. You want the link in chat?
Yeah, link it in chat.
Okay.
If you can.
Okay. Anyway, this guy says...
I don't know how to do that shit.
I can. Well, you don't have a keyboard.
I know.
We got to get you a keyboard.
I know it uses PFM to be able to put the hyperlink up, but other than that, I can't tell you.
Okay.
PFM, pure fucking magic.
As well that you have PFM and karma. My wife says I have parking karma.
Okay.
She has lots of other karma. She has call them up and complain at them karma.
Uh-huh.
She has technological karma.
I have parking.
I have parking karma.
No, BC. You have a blue placard. That is not the same fucking thing.
I thought that was parking karma. Jesus. She's never noticed that blue thing hanging off the rearview mirror.
We always get front row parking. Okay, it's amazing. And they're huge spaces. Yeah. I don't know how you get these.
Honey, I love you. So getting so close to the theater for me. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
No, that's okay. I just hope that she's not listening and that you've blown everything. Okay, let's see if I can find... okay, as I'm typing this, The guy says, 6 years ago, I wrote a book about Barack Obama where I predicted that modern American liberalism, under pressure from both fiscal and philosophical areas, would either go out of business or be forced to radicalize. If it chose the latter, he predicted, it could radicalize along two lines, towards socialism or towards an increasingly postmodern form of leadership. Today, it's doing both. As we saw in Bernie Sanders' campaign, and again, this is written in November of 2018, the youngest generation of liberals is embracing socialism openly, something that would never have been heard of during the Cold War. At the same time, identity politics is on the ascendant, with its quasi-Nietzschean faith in race, sex, and power as the keys to being and meaning. In the Me Too movement, for example, we saw recently in Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation battle, the motto is, believe the woman. In other words, truth will emerge not from an adversarial process weighing evidence and testimony before the bar of reason, but from yielding to the will of the more politically correct. Her truth is stronger than any objective or disinterested truth. And that's how he starts that. So let me see.
I don't want to get too far off topic because I know you wanted to discuss the legal concepts as well. I was just throwing that out there.
Here we go. Okay, now I've got it. This is from Hills. Imprimus, by the way, if you didn't know, is from Hillsdale College.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what the hell it was. But if I had college to
free classes.
If I had college to do it all over again, as a young kid, 18, I would have asked my parents if I could go to Hillsdale. Funny thing is, I can't really tell you. I don't really know where it is, where Hillsdale College is located. Okay, now
it's back east.
I've put it up in chat so you folks can see what that is and what that means.
Can you link another in chat as well? Can you link? Go to online.hillsdale.edu. .hillsdale.edu.
Okay.
Go to that site.
All right.
That is the site where you can take. Now, if you go over to it's online courses, you can, if you get rid of that dialog box that you have on there, and just go click the red tab called courses. And if you click on that, it gives you a whole list of free courses that you can take. That it's free of charge. You get the lectures. You take the quiz at the end. You take the test at the end. It's not for college credit, but
there we go.
College credits are worth garbage nowadays, anyways, in my opinion. But it is, if you like to educate yourself and you like to talk, there are a ton of different topics out there. I've taken several of the courses. You can start with Constitution 101. They have a Constitution 201. They have a great one on foreign policy and the revolution. Anyways,
I took their Constitution 101. It was grand.
Their Second World Wars series, I think it's 8 classes long, is fantastic, BZ, and you would love it. But I think I got sidetracked. But for our listeners and those in chat, right there, I encourage you to go take a look at those courses.
And here's why I delineate my stepping off point being malum in se versus malum prohibitum. Malum prohibitum comes out as it's conduct that constitutes an unlawful act only by virtue of a statute, okay? Mm-hmm. So the law, some law somewhere, says it's bad. Mm-hmm. Malum in se is the larger overarching law, and I'll get to what I mean by overarching law, where it says that something is wrong or evil just in and of itself. Now let me back up and apply the Constitution. And we talked to Professor Michael Jones on this. Way too many people think that we get our rights from the government. You and I both know that our rights come from God. Mm-hmm. They don't come from government, which is a fundamental core chasm between people on the right and people on the left.
Yes, and the reason is if you're right, if government gives you a right, then government can take it away as well. Whereas if your rights come from nature or nature's God, or God then no man can take those rights away from you, because no man can supersede God's will or nature's will, because we have rights simply because we exist.
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. So that's my determinant, is malum prohibitum, as far as I'm concerned, means I get to determine whether I obey your pissy little law. If it conflicts with malum in se, which is it is wrong or evil in its nature fundamentally,
like late-term abortion or post-birth abortion,
and I back that up with going to the founding documents, which I know grant my rights not from government. They grant my rights from God. I have those rights innately, and I'm not giving those up. All the Constitution and the Bill of Rights do are immure in a document what we inherently know we fundamentally possess already.
And let me use an example of that. If the Gestapo were alive and well in the United States, if the United States government ever got to the point where there is a national police force and they were the Gestapo and they were, let's say they stopped you because whatever, name the reason, but you were doing nothing wrong other than the fact that you were, say, Jewish, or you were perceived to be a Caucasoid or black or whatever it is, they stopped you for that reason. And then they decided to arrest you for that reason. For that. You would have a natural right to resist that unlawful arrest. Or if they were to use force against you, you would have the natural right to resist that unlawful force and that unlawful arrest.
Question.
That is what that is one of those things, right? In California, I'm hesitant to say this because I think this could easily be misused, but in California, if you're sitting on a sidewalk and a cop comes up to you and they say, you're coming with me, you're under arrest, and there is no reason for that arrest, and then that cop punches you in the face and grabs you by the hair and pulls you down to the ground, and you are literally doing nothing, you have a right to resist that unlawful arrest and that unlawful use of force against you. I say be careful with that, because there may be an articulable reason why an officer is acting in that way. And in the United States of America today, we don't have cops that conduct themselves that way. So understand, I'm talking about an extreme circumstance here. And if you're somebody that just thinks, well, the cop can't tell me that.
Caution.
Very, very caution, because there may be a legitimate reason for X, Y, or Z.
However, there are proscriptions in the California Penal Code where officers cannot conduct themselves in certain fashions.
Correct.
X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely. And even federal statute, right, for doing certain things under color of authority.
Yes, 42 U.S.C. 1983. That's called a 1983 Action Deprivation of Civil Rights. Why do I know that? Ask me someday.
I can imagine. So we have to, this is kind of what we're talking about, right? Which laws we're going to obey or what authority we're going to submit to.
Correct.
Based upon what is legitimate law versus what is a law that perhaps, or an order or authority that's exerted in violation of your natural law.
Natural rights and natural law. Yes.
Correct.
So
go ahead.
The question to you is, the people in Venezuela, are they justified in fighting the government now?
I would say yes, they are. Yes, they are. Look, you have, I would argue that is not an insurrection. I would argue that you have a lawfully elected individual who has yet to take power, that you have a government that is oppressive of your individual liberties and rights, that you have a government that has used force upon a particular population. We saw the armored vehicle running over the crowd, right?
We watched that today. I watched that today.
So you have the government that appears to be using unlawful force against its citizens, and granted, their laws are different, but if you believe in natural law, if you believe in Hobbes and those folks, then those laws exist just because you exist, not because you're in a particular country, in which case, yes, you have a government that is supposed to be instituted by the will of God or by the people that is oppressing those people to a point where their individual rights are taken away. Correct? So yes, I believe
people
they have a right.
Wouldn't you say people have a fundamental right to not be killed or injured by their government?
Absolutely. For no reason.
For no reason.
Yes.
So, by the way, Kaiser asked me, isn't it blah, blah, blah? And no, it's 42 USC 1983, deprivation of civil rights. I happen to know that. So, do they possess a fundamental right to go against their government? You and I both agree, yes. What did they lose in 2012 in Venezuela?
Their minds.
And their weapons.
Yes.
So,
wait a second. Are you insinuating that governments disarm the people prior to becoming more oppressive? Because that has never before it happened in history. Has it?
Here's what absolutely drives me crazy about leftists and the Democrats and the American media maggots. They interpret the Second Amendment as being there for you to survive. And literally, I've had people tell me it exists so that you can, in bad times, you can hunt.
Yeah.
And you laugh. Because I'm sure
I laugh because it's bullshit.
I'm sure you've had somebody probably tell you that too.
I have.
Somewhere to your face, and it's absolute insanity. And yet, the LDAM in the United States cannot see what's occurring 3,500 miles south of us right now. This is a history lesson writ large in the making in front of our eyes, and they cannot connect the lesson as to how these people got there in the first place. And I saw this, and I took a photograph back in like 96, 97. I used to get cab rides in Union Pacific locomotives and Southern Pacific locomotives, and written in the back of one of these armor yellow cabs, because, trust me, railroads are a paramilitary organization and they treat their employees in that fashion too. I just happen to know that. Written in the back of that thing was, in quotes, a government large enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you own. Mm-hmm. And you nailed that no more than 45 minutes ago. So if we have a government that the people, somewhere along the line, the people in Venezuela were all good. Mm-hmm. With Hugo Chavez, and he was bestowing all kinds of social creature comforts upon them. They were good with that. And they were so good with that at one point that they thought, well, we don't need our weapons. What do we need guns for? Look how well this country's treating us. And then it turns to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you really do have socialism. We've seen that there are people in Europe who have said, oh my God, why is it that you were sufficiently smart to have a Second Amendment? We need one now in Europe with this massive migrant crisis that we're having. We can't keep our families safe. We can't keep our wives safe.
Mm-hmm.
There are rings running in large European cities that are rape rings of women that the media in Europe are tamping down because they don't want you to know that there are people that are actually been imported into their country that are doing this kind of thing. Venezuela gave that up.
Yeah, and my favorite. I know we've touched on 2A a lot, and we have the last 5 minutes, but you look at the Second Amendment, and yeah, we know it's not a hunting thing. It's not even a self-defense thing for your home. It is literally to keep the government honest. That's the purpose of it. The argument now is, well, you don't need a military-style weapon. Back in the day, they had muskets, and that's.
Oh yeah, everybody had a flintlock.
They had muskets. Let me tell you something. The private person was better armed than the standard military issue musket.
Yes.
The military was issued smoothbore muskets. And there were numerous colonists. Look at the Green Mountain Boys that had rifles. They had superior armament to what the standard military issue smoothbore musket was. This private citizens had better weapons than the military.
But is there one leftist that knows that from history? And the answer is no.
No. There's an F-20 that flies over Sacramento. It's either an F-20 or an F-5. I can never tell if it has one engine or two. But there's neither an F-5, and it's privately owned.
Oh, do we have a private?
It's an F-5? Okay. So it's privately owned.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. It's a privately owned F-5. I think it flies out of Sac Exec. So I say that guy who owns that F-5, this is going to be radically unpopular, right? He should be able to arm that F-5. Why is the military, the government, allowed to have a weapon system and a private citizen who's able to have that weapon system? Why can't he have that? Now, granted, if he operates it in a way that's contrary to law or killing private citizens or something of that nature, you have a different argument. But if he arms that F-5 by throwing a gun in the nose or name the weapon system on that thing to defend himself in time of war or to help defend the country in time of war, or for whatever reason, if he's lawfully in possession of those weapons without taking anybody else's rights away or anything like that, and he has demonstrated the ability to care for those weapons because they are pretty darn destructive, why should he not be able to hold it? If you really take 2A at its strict core, should they not be able to do that? Were private citizens able to have cannons back in the day?
I'm Bob Holt, and this is my F-5. Now, if you look under the wings here, you'll see 4 sidewinders.
Hey, but should he be able to do that if he could afford to do so? BZ?
I think that's a novel idea. Well,
okay. So in theory, should he be able to?
Ideally, yes.
Okay.
And in some states, well, I don't
know.
know.
FAA controls that.
No. But I'm saying in some states, where I was going to go is, unless it's changed, and you might know more about that than me, you can still get a fully automatic weapon in some states.
It's highly controlled and regulated. Highly controlled.
And I was thinking New Mexico or Arizona, and it used to be 10 years ago or so. I don't know if it's still that way, but you used to be able to possess some of those weapons. You used to be able to have suppressed weapons.
Did you know in Europe, in some countries in Europe, it's illegal to not have a suppressed weapon?
In Switzerland, you have to be armed.
But if you're going to
possess weapons.
But if you're going to fire your weapon and you're hunting, it is illegal to hunt without a suppressor on it.
Now, that was completely out of my wheelhouse. I did not know that.
And the reason is the loud, unreasonable, excessive noise, hearing damage, disturbing the peace of others, those sorts of things. So you have to hunt with a suppressor.
What happens when we get an army of people? No, I'm not gonna go there.
It's 10 o'clock.
I know. It's time to go. I've had a great time.
I've had a great time too.
There are tons of things we didn't get to, but all in all,
we got the shit that nobody else gets to.
Yeah, that's okay, because we addressed a ton of things that a lot of other people were not thinking of. Mm-hmm. And I'm good with that.
I'm good
with that,
Which is
why
too.
People, this is freeform radio, like we said. It's freestyle radio, and that's why people come here. At least, I'm pretty sure that's why people come here.
Yeah.
Are we going to be here next week?
Yes.
I am.
I will be.
Okay.
Now, the 2 weeks after that, I'll be in D.C. and then Alabama.
We'll wait and see. Now, are you gone for 2 shows?
I am. Well, I'm going to try.
You're gone at least
DC,
one.
I'm gone. So in D.C., I'm going to try and do a show from D.C. Remember we talked
call
about
in.
this.
Call in. Okay, that's right. Okay, well, we hope you had a great time. It's time to
I
go.
did. Oh, we're talking about to me or to them?
Oh, to them, to you, to anybody.
Oh.
Sackheads Clint over there. I'm Sackheads BZ. Thanks for listening. We were the Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's a real chat show. Thanks for being in the chat room. Tomorrow night, Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. 8 p.m.
I agree, Kaiser.
Eastern.
I wouldn't want a full auto either.
8 p.m. Oh, yeah.
If you want to have one, you should be able to have one. But semi-auto, just fine.
They ain't all they're cracked up to be. You just happen to know that.
They waste a whole lot of rounds.
I know. It's true.
But it's fun.
Oh, okay. I'll go
Why are
along
we
with
still
that.
here?
I don't know. Let me look over here and decide. Oh, that's right. We don't have to be here.
Hang on.
Wait a minute.
Hi, Sean.
Who is that over there? That was Sean eating dinner.
In our green room.
Yeah. Okay, I guess.
Look at you all uppity because the Red Sox swept the A's.
Good night, folks.